motion. Then all we're doing is we're blocking that ball back to the deep part of the court. Keep it. It's just a simple shot. It's not a big swing. It's just a punching motion. Left foot forward, short. First things first, we want to spend a couple minutes on the grip. The grip is the foundation for every stroke we hit in tennis. The forehand, backhand, our volleys, half volleys, overheads, our serve. If we don't have the proper grip, there's no way we're going to have the consistency, the power, and the control that we want to have. So it's very important that you understand the grips. Throughout my tapes, I'll be talking about the grips and where there are. There's 4 basic grips. I want to talk about those right now. There's 8 sides to every grip, an octagon. We number those this way. Number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is on the bottom, and then your backhand side has 2, 3, and 4. This helps us understand where we're trying to get to in order to get to the proper grips. The first grip that we have is called the continental grip. This is on number 1, or the V of the hand on platform number 1. This grip is used in the serve, all of your volleys, your half volleys. If we can learn this grip, it will help us tremendously. Years ago, this used to be the grip that they hit all the strokes with. But now we've changed and go with the continental, mainly on your serve, again, your volleys, your half volleys. Anything around the net, your net game will go to a continental grip. Your slice also is from the continental grip. Then we move over to an Eastern forehand grip, which is the V of the hand right here on platform number 2. This is also called the handshake grip. So if you put the racket out and shake its hand, that's the proper grip. Sampras uses this on his strokes. This will give you a nice flat stroke. Sampras hits pretty flat and powerful. I teach the semi-western, which is the V of the hand on platform number 3. So the V of the hand, platform number 3. This actually is one that most people pick up if they've started very young, because they go, the racket's on the ground, they go down, pick it up. That's in the semi-western grip. Agassi hits with the semi-western forehand grip. Great grip. This is the one I particularly teach because you can hit the spin, you can hit the power, and yet you have that control just by generating a little more spin for the room for air. Going over further is called the western forehand grip, which is the V of the hand on platform number 4. You'll notice with this grip, you actually hit on this side of the racket. With this grip, it's extreme and it puts too much spin on. Mainly it's clay court players that use this grip because they're from the baseline to baseline, they're going extreme topspin. The balls are going real high over the net. I don't particularly like it because I find when you're trying to hit the passing shots, you don't have enough control to keep the ball lower over the net to make the ball dip down. It just gets the ball loopy, too loopy. So I don't particularly like it, but it's important to know this grip. That's this western forehand grip. Then you have the extreme western, which is on platform number 5 on the bottom. Again, it's clear under here. Again, I don't teach that grip. I don't particularly like it. Then what we do is we move over to the backhand side. There's platform number 2 on the backhand side, which is your left side if you're a right-handed player. Number 2, the V of the hand on number 2 is called the Eastern backhand grip, just like number 2 on the front side, or your right side is the Eastern forehand grip. Eastern backhand grip. This helps get the racket. If you're hitting pretty flat, this is a great grip to have on your backhand. I again teach between the Eastern and the semi-Western on the backhand grip, the V of the hand on platform number 2 or 3 to get that racket closed on your backhand so that you're able to generate the spin. Very important to understand these grips. Again, going clear over to platform number 4 is the Western backhand grip. Extreme topspin. I don't particularly like it. Again, back to the clay court players. It's not a very diverse grip. You're better off moving to the semi-Western on the forehand, semi-Western on the backhand. You're going to be much more diverse that way. Now, if you're left-handed, it's very important to understand everything is just backwards. You start out platform number 1, continental. Now everything to your dominant hand or your left side is now your forehand side. Platform number 2, Eastern forehand grip. Platform number 3 is the semi-Western forehand grip. You'll hear me talk about this often on your forehand and your backhand. Semi-Western. Western is platform number 4. And then extreme Western is platform number 5. Again, hitting on the back side of the racket. Then we go back around. Eastern backhand grip for a left-hander. Via the hand, platform number 2 on your right side or your non-dominant hand. Platform number 3 is semi-Western backhand grip. Platform number 4 is Western backhand grip. So that you know, as a lefty, you're going to be just the opposite when I talk about the right-handed side and the left-handed side. Now you know the grips. It's very important that you understand these grips and learn them so that you get the racket head in the proper position. Once you do, you'll find the consistency will increase. The ability to hit these shots will increase, and you'll find you're way ahead of your competitors just by learning the proper grips. In today's clinic, we're going to go over the backhand, the one-handed backhand and then the two-handed backhand. The backhand is one of the most misunderstood strokes in tennis. It's a side that most people fear. They don't want to have to hit a backhand. They start pushing balls in. They start slicing always because they don't trust their backhand. Today's clinic, we're going to teach you how to hit the top spin backhand, a one-handed backhand, then the two-handed backhand. We're going to teach you how to decide whether a one-handed backhand is best for you or a two-handed backhand is best for you. I teach a lot of people, and it's interesting to watch them hit their backhands. You can tell from when you're working with someone whether they should be hitting a one or a two-handed backhand just because their body, the way that the racket flows, is better from one side or the other, whether it's a one-handed backhand or a two-handed backhand. In today's clinic, I'll teach you the techniques to let you know how to decide whether one or a two-hand is best for you. There are positives and negatives to both. So it doesn't matter whether you want to hit a one-handed or a two-handed backhand. We'll teach you what is best for you. We're going to go over and teach you the strokes and the techniques necessary to trust the backhand, to not have to constantly run around your forehand because you don't want to hit a backhand because you're afraid of it. I'll teach you that it's an easier stroke to hit than the forehand because you're hitting away from your body. The forehand is actually harder to hit because you're hitting across your body. The backhand, you're throwing the arm away. It's much easier on the body. But the key is you have to learn to trust it. I'm going to teach you the techniques, the form necessary to trust it every time. It's very basic. Once you learn it, you'll be amazed. You'll just go, I can't believe I didn't know this before. So come with me today, go grab your racket, and let's get started in building your ultimate backhand. First things first, we're going to talk about the racket. A lot of people don't know what the racket's all about. I want you to understand what we're talking about when we talk about different parts of the racket. First, you have the face of the racket, which is right here. You'll hear me talk about an open face, which is open, or a closed face, which is pointed towards the ground. Then you have the throat of the racket. Then you have the grip. The grip actually has 8 sides. I have them numbered here to illustrate where we want to grip the racket with the basic grips that are out there. There's 8 sides to a grip. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 underneath, and then on the inside has 2, 3, and 4, also 5 still underneath. When we're talking about a one-handed backhand, there's 4 basic grips. There's the old classic style, which is the continental grip. It's the grip that we use on our serve also, which is the V of the hand is on platform number 1 on the grip. This one, if you want to hit a slice, is great. If you want to hit a topspin backhand, you're going to have a lot of trouble trying to use the continental grip. I don't prefer teaching the continental grip on the backhand. The next one over is the Eastern backhand grip, which is the V of the hand is on the inside platform number 2, or the side closest to your left hand, which is your backhand side. What that does is it helps start turning the racket face over so that at contact we're able to make, at contact we have the racket face straight up and down or vertical. This is what I like more on the backhand grip. I teach more the Eastern backhand grip, or working towards a semi-Western backhand grip, which is on platform number 3, the V of the hand. One of those two, you'll have to adjust slightly to how you feel, but try those two. Constantly I see people out hitting the backhand, and I watch them try to hit over the ball this way to hit a backhand, and they're wondering why they're not able to hit up, or they try to hit up and the racket is open with the continental grip and the ball just takes off on them. When you start turning that racket head over on the Eastern backhand grip or the semi-Western backhand grip, it actually takes the racket face into the proper form, so at contact it's actually vertical, and that's where we want it. The last of these is the Western backhand grip, which I don't recommend for anyone. It's way over on platform number 4. I really don't like it at all, so I don't teach it at all, because I think it takes the racket way out of whack, and you have trouble hitting the other strokes when you have to run from a backhand to a forehand. The Eastern backhand or the semi-Western backhand grip are the 2 that I prefer. Again, try them yourself and find what feels the most comfortable, because everyone's strokes are slightly different. You'll have to adjust slightly depending on your particular strokes. Okay, now you have the basics of the grip. We'll review the grip constantly throughout this video, but the next step that we're going into in order to build that great backhand, that ultimate backhand that we're working for, is the ready position. This is one of the areas I constantly see problems throughout most players that I watch. They're just not ready to hit the ball. In order to be to the ball the quickest possible way, you've got to be ready. If you're standing there with your racket down, or if you're standing there with your legs straight up, or standing there thinking about everything else besides what you're doing, you're going to run into trouble. You're not going to be in position to hit the proper backhand when you get to the ball. Maybe you won't even be able to get to the ball. What's so incredibly important is to be properly prepared, which is ready position. The racket is up, out in front. What I like to do is, if I have it held in a continental grip to start out with, which is the V of the hand on platform number 1 to start out with, so I can quickly turn to a forehand or quickly turn to the backhand grip, depending on which side it goes to. I want my weight balanced. Feet are about shoulder length apart, knees are slightly bent. I like to tell my kids, if you feel a little stupid, you're in the right position. But that's where we're at. We want to be ready so that we're able to blast or push off that foot and get ready to get to that ball quickly. So we're in that ready position. The next step is early preparation, which is turn yourself sideways and get that racket back. Get yourself bolting to the ball. You watch all the main pros, the best pros that are out there right now. I guarantee you will see they're running with their racket back, so that when they get to that ball, they know what to do with it. All they have to do is let the trigger go and hit that proper formed backhand or that proper formed forehand. But it all starts from them being ready. They're in that ready position, the weight is up on the toes, they're ready to move quickly. They're not flat-footed, knees straight, racket down, who knows what else thinking. People, they're actually getting ready for that next ball. They're going to attack that ball. That's what we want to do. We want to be in the ready position. We want to make sure that we're prepared nice and early, so as soon as it goes to that backhand side, we get our grip changed, the racket's back, we get ourselves turned sideways, and we start moving, getting to where the ball is. Next segment, we're going to talk about the footwork. Now we've talked about being prepared and ready to get to that ball, but how do we get there? Very important on how we get to the ball. We go from our ready position. I talked about being up on the toes and moving quickly. What we want to do, we get ourselves turned sideways, that racket's back, and we push off from the outside foot. That drives us towards the ball where we want to be. So we push off. We use nice long steps to begin with. As we get closer to the ball, we actually want to start using baby steps or shorter steps to adjust our feet into the right position. Then we plant our back foot, drive our weight forward, and make contact out in front. But it's critical to get our feet in the proper position on this. This is a good closed stance, one-handed backhand. I like a closed stance on the one-handed backhand because it gives us the least amount of room for error, gives us the highest percentage in order to keep our shoulders, hips, and everything in the right line to hit the ball properly. So it's very important to not be too open. Too open of a stance on the backhand causes you to spin out this way and really causes trouble on the backhand. I like to become a little bit more mechanical on the one-handed backhand. This left hand is also very important. It's a part that too many people don't do. They kind of just let that racket hang and they try to spin the racket without getting it into the correct position. But the left hand is very important, holding the racket at the throat. But again, let's review the footwork. Very important part. We're in the ready position. We're really watching the ball. Remember those big eyes that like Agassi and all the great players have. They're watching that ball. As soon as they see it's going to that backhand side, they rotate, the racket goes back, they start running, they plant their back foot, drive forward in a nice line, and get ready to hit that stroke. Get your feet in position, and on all of your strokes, I promise you, you'll be hitting much more consistent and with much better power if you just get your feet in the proper position. So work on your footwork, work on that preparation, and then we can put the techniques into effect that will give you that ultimate backhand that we're looking for. I'm actually bouncing a little bit so that I can move quickly. I don't want to be flat-footed and stationary. I actually want to already be moving slightly, so I'm able to move quickly to the ball. You hit it to my left side, so I have to hit a backhand. My first motion is to push off from my outside foot or my right foot to drive me over towards my backhand side. If you notice, I turn and rotate and start running towards the ball. As I go towards it, I have big steps, and then getting closer to it, I shorten those steps up, use baby steps. Then I plant my back foot or my left foot, drive the weight forward, so all my weight is now driving towards the ball to strike the ball. Drive that weight forward and go right at my target. Get your body in the correct position, and you'll be able to generate the consistency and the power that we're looking for on our backhand side. And you'll actually be in the correct position to stroke it properly. Then you can begin to trust your backhand. Now we've got the strong foundation on getting ourselves in position to hit the backhand properly, going from the ready position, getting our feet in proper position, and holding the proper grip. Now, what do we do from this point on? The backswing is one of the biggest problems that I see out in tennis. I watch people go out there, especially on the backhand, and the backswing is where they're running into the biggest problems. Too often they're not utilizing their left hand. The left hand is critical in hitting a proper backhand. It helps get the racket set. We don't adjust the racket by trying to find platform number 3. You don't have that much time to go over and go 1, 2, 3, adjust your hand. What happens is, what we want to do is get the racket face closed on our backswing. If we get a racket face closed on our backswing, all we have to do is from that point on grip the racket. If you'll look, my grip went to platform right in between platform number 2 and 3, which is right in between the eastern forehand and the eastern backhand and semi-western backhand grip. It went right in between there just by taking the racket back closed with my left hand. Some people like to use the term palm down. I like to just turn the racket back because everyone's swing is slightly different. So I may want to close this far, other people may not want to close that far because they don't put as much spin. Depending on how much spin you want to hit, you'll adjust how far you want to close the racket face. But if we look at closing the racket face on the backswing, then what happens at this point is when we drive that weight forward, the racket face becomes vertical or slightly closed at contact. That's what we want. Look what happens if I take my racket back with an open face. At contact, my racket face is open, and what do you think is going to happen to the ball? The ball's going to take off. There's no way it's going to have anything on it in order to bring the ball back down into the court. What we want to do is generate the topspin. Topspin is generated from hitting or brushing up the back of the ball. The harder we brush up, the more spin or more air pressure is driving down on top of the ball to bring the ball down into the court. This is an area that most people just don't understand. Most people think we want to turn over the top of it to generate topspin. And they think we want to be real wristy with it to generate topspin. But that's not the truth. Science has told us that the wrist actually stays firm at contact. When we take that racket back closed, we want to grab on. From this point on, our wrist stays firm. Racket face is closed on the backswing. Then at this point, we start driving that ball forward. And at contact, if you notice, again, the racket face is vertical or slightly closed. We're going to go over the contact point and swinging from low to high as well. But it's very important, just on the backswing alone, if you can adjust your backswing, this will help the racket face become at the right position, that racket face at vertical at contact point, so you can find the consistency that you're looking for. So you can finally start hitting a ball rather than just trying to push a ball in. You're actually going to be able to start enjoying your backhand because the racket face is going to be in the right position. Just from our strong foundation, the backswing, and then contact point is vertical because of the backswing. It's something very simple. Close the face on the backswing, makes it vertical or slightly closed at contact. Now this is looking at it from the side view. As you get yourself from that ready position, we get ourselves turned sideways. We take that racket back. What we want to make sure on that backswing again is that that racket face is closed. Utilize your left hand, close that face, and then grip that racket in the semi-western or the eastern backhand grip. This will put the racket in the proper form. Then as you drive forward, notice what happens. From that low to high swing, the racket face becomes vertical or slightly closed at contact. So as we're generating that topspin, going from low to high, just from putting our racket back closed, gets that racket at vertical at contact, what we're looking for. So again, look at it from this angle. Sideways racket back, notice the face is closed. Drive forward, racket face is vertical at contact, and then the full follow through. But we'll go over that in a little bit later. Just by way of understanding, if you're left-handed, it's going to be your right hand on the throat. And you'll do things, but the grips are going to be identical. The form and everything's going to be identical. All you have to do is go the opposite way. Again, going this way. I won't show you that side of me. But you can use the left hand using the exact same techniques. Just use your left hand rather than your right hand. Now let's talk about the backswing position. There's a few different types of backswings that we can do. There's the big loop, where the racket head's way up, and as we go back, we actually let it go down. So we're going in a nice big looping motion. Or there's an abbreviated loop, which is kind of right in between that. It's a little bit quicker. On a very slow surface, the big loop, a lot of people use the big loop. You watch the great clay quarters. They use a big loopy strokes on both sides. I don't personally like it. The abbreviated loop is a little bit better because it's able to go through a little less motion, and on faster surfaces it works better. I personally like the simple motion of the straight back swing. Take the racket back, let the racket head drop. From this position, you have less room for air. You don't have to worry about going through all this motion and getting there. What I find when people do the big loops and the other motions oftentimes is they get there and they have to try to swing quick because they don't get enough time to go through all their motion. I like to run with the racket already back. At this point, all we have to do is let the trigger go. From here, we just let it drive right at our target. So as we're taking that racket back, where it's already in the position it needs to be, from here forward is nothing more than going from low to high and finishing nice and high. But from that easy, simple motion, we have way less room for error. We don't have to have the perfect timing. If we get caught with a shorter ball, or if we get there early, we're still in the correct position. Or if we get there late, we're also still in the correct position. We don't have to worry about the big loop or the short loop. I like to keep it simple. Back to the idea of paralysis by analysis. Too many things to think about, we start running into problems because we can't think about what we need to. Keep it simple. Take that racket back, keep the racket face closed, go through that simple motion, and just that alone will help your backhand improve. So in review, this is how I want you to take it back on the backswing. Keep it simple. Take the racket back, racket face closed, racket head down. So then at that point, it's already in the proper position to go from low to high at our target. Keep your backswing simple. Don't do too much with it. Too often we let that racket just go on our backswings and we're just never quite sure where it's at. Use that left hand to get it in the correct position. Keep it relaxed, and all we have to do is grip hard when we're ready to make contact. But we keep ourselves very relaxed. Go from a very simple position and you'll find great results and get that ultimate backhand that we're looking for. Now we're building the swing step by step. We've learned the ready position. We've learned the early preparation, getting that racket back. We've learned the backswing with the racket face closed, the proper footwork. Now what you need to do is learn the next step. Once we've gotten to the ball and we're starting to drive forward towards you from the back foot, the next step in the puzzle is we want our knees to bend. I know this is a big problem for most people. I watch it throughout the club and I watch it all over when I've played. I have a problem with it every once in a while because I get a little lazy. Most of us get a little lazy. We have to learn to bend our knees in order to generate the spin, which gives us the consistency. It's generated from getting our racket head below the ball, and that's done by getting our knees down as well. We have to get at least a foot below the ball. That's done by this. Take that racket back, our back foot plants, we go down. Like to use the term dip and lift as we're hitting. So we go down, we dip, and we lift as we're hitting. Another terminology is sit in a chair. We go here, sit down, and then get out of the chair. It's whatever works for you. I like the dip and lift because it sounds better. But we go in that position, ready position, rackets back, with nice closed face. You notice it's closed. We start going forward to start hitting the ball. We dip our knees and we start the racket going forward, and then we start lifting as we're making contact and go to the contact point and then the follow through. That dip and lift is so critical. Don't get lazy. Now let's look at it from the other view, from the side view. We're here from the ready position. We notice it's going to our backhand side. We get that racket back early. We start adjusting to the ball. We plant the back foot. We dip our knees, start driving forward, and lift as we're hitting. You'll find great results if you will stop being lazy and start going through that motion. And I guarantee you'll get a better workout too. Your legs will be stronger, you'll have a tighter rear end, and we'll feel better about our game because we're going through the proper position. Dip and lift. Back, dip, and lift. Very important part of this stroke. Go through this stroke step by step, and as we build, you'll find it's very easy, and it'll become a great weapon because you trust it and you see that it's not that difficult to hit. It'll actually be a pleasure to start hitting this backhand, and you'll love when they hit to your backhand side. So again, dip and lift to success. Now the next piece of the puzzle as we continue to build this backhand is contact point. After we've got the racket in the right position, we've got our legs down, everything's underneath the ball, we're ready to let it go. Where do we want to make contact with the ball? This is a big problem also among many players. Too many players try to contact the ball right in front of their belly button or right in front of their bodies, and they're wondering why they're not being able to generate the power and the control that they want. What happens is when we do this, we have to rotate those shoulders out early to get our racket head to the ball. We don't want this to happen because we want to be able to generate all the power, generate our whole body going directly to the ball. Contact point on a one-handed backhand is about a foot in front of the front foot. So as we plant our back foot and we start driving forward, our contact point is actually way out here rather than way back in here. So if you notice the difference, that's a huge difference. And that's why we have so many problems too often on the backhand, is our contact point. We're very late. I constantly am telling people they're late when they're making contact because they're not trying to attack that ball out in front. As we attack the ball out in front, everything else good happens because we're being aggressive. We're not getting caught late. So as we go, we get ourselves turned sideways, we start going towards the ball. We plant that back foot, our racket face is closed, we start driving that front foot forward, we dip the knees, start lifting as we're hitting, and our contact is way out in front. Let me show you with the ball. As we're out in front, we're here and driving the ball. It's good control, and we generate all that power. So it's back, plant that back foot, out in front, and up the back of the ball. Nice low to high motion. That's so important to generate the spin. Below that ball, brush up the back of the ball, contact it out in front, but drive up the back of the ball. In order to generate the power that we want to generate, each part of this puzzle is very important, and everything gets us in the right position to generate the power. As we pull ourselves back, the nice thing with pulling ourselves back with the left hand, what it helps me is number one is it rotates our shoulders. The other thing it helps by pulling slightly with that back hand, it helps remind me I want to swing from my shoulder. I don't want to swing from my elbow. I don't want to be wristy and just fling at the ball. That's a big problem as well. We just fling at the ball rather than let that ball go. I like to tell people it's like a pendulum. You're swinging like a pendulum from that shoulder. So once it goes back, the elbow doesn't lead, the wrist doesn't lead, but we get it back and our racket head leads out in front. But the wrist stays firm, swinging from your shoulder. So pull yourself back, rotates the shoulders. As we're running sideways, it rotates the hips. We plant that back foot. If you notice, by pulling back, rotates the shoulders, rotates the hips. Then we start driving. Our big, strong leg muscles drive ourselves forward. So we're here, we're driving forward. At this point, we're starting to unleash. You notice the rotation of the shoulders. The racket head's out in front. Our weight is all driving to our front foot. We're getting everything going into the ball and driving right at our target. That's how we generate the power we're looking for. Let me show you one more time. As it's out in front, everything's turned out in front, and we drive everything into the ball. Then you generate the consistency, the power, and the control that you want to on this backhand. Every piece of this puzzle, learning proper technique and proper form, will give you the strength, give you the control, give you the power, and give you the confidence that you'll be able to hit your backhand the way you want to. So learn this backhand piece by piece, and I guarantee you'll find great results and you'll trust the backhand. Now with you as my opponent, you're going to see the contact point as well as the follow-through. The critical elements to the contact point and the follow-through are making sure that you keep your head down. Watch the ball hit the strings. Too many people are so busy watching the ball where it's going before they've made contact. If you're a golfer or any of these other sports, I guarantee they'll tell you the exact same thing. See the ball hit the strings. Great example of that is Justine Henin-Hardin. If you watched her at the French Open or some of the tournaments that she plays at, she holds such a beautiful pose. You can see she watches that ball all the way through, and then she finishes and gets ready for the next ball. But she watches that ball hit the strings. So again, from this position, you're going to see the ball with you as my opponent. That racket goes back early. We plant our back foot. Contact point is out in front. We drive the ball and finish nice and high. I like to say it's a half arch or finish nice and high. Critical element of our swing. We don't want to go make contact and stop. What's going to happen in that situation? The ball's just going to take off. We'll lose control of the ball by stopping. It works almost exactly the opposite of what we think. Most of us think if we stop, we're gaining control, or we're able to push it where we want. That's not the way it works. The follow-through helps generate the spin. By following through nice and high, we've hit from below that ball, finished high, we've generated all that spin to gain the control of the ball, to hit the ball where we want it to go. Critical element to this whole backhand is make the contact, watch the ball, and finish your shot. Finish it off. Let me show you one more time. Out in front, drive at your contact. But you notice it's dip and lift. Everything is put into the swing. Again, early preparation. We turn sideways, racket face is closed, in the proper grip. We toss the ball out in front, contact the ball, and drive it at our target. Okay, now we're going to go over it one more time. Again, from that ready position, we get that racket face closed, the racket back, wrist is firm, proper grip. We start planting from our back foot, driving that weight forward. If you notice again, the weight starts to drop. We contact the ball out in front, and we follow through nice and high. Hold the pose. Watch the ball to the strings, and hold the pose. I promise you, if you do these very basic things, you'll be able to gain that power, gain the control, and gain the confidence in the backhand that we want to. It'll become the ultimate backhand, not just a weak side of our game or a weak part of our game that people pick on. They'll actually find that we don't have a weak side anymore because we trust it and we're able to hit the ball exactly where we want, when we want, and how we want. Now, in hitting your backhand, here's a power tip, something that's very important. It's something that I see oftentimes. It's very important as we're starting to drive our weight forward that we drive our front shoulder towards the ball. Too often what happens is we let our back shoulder drop and we start hitting this way. If you notice what happens, the racket face opens up. By driving the front shoulder into the ball, it helps keep our racket face closed and out in front. That will help keep the ball down in. Every other part of the swing helps generate the spin that we're looking at hitting. Very important if we make sure that our shoulders are driving. It's almost like in baseball. If we're hitting a line drive, we want to have their shoulders a little more level. If we want to hit a home run, we drop our back shoulder down. Same thing happens in tennis. Let that back shoulder drop, the ball takes off. By driving the front shoulder in, that helps us keep our shoulders level. So let me show you from one more angle. From right here, going from the ready position, we turn sideways, racket back. Notice the palm is down, which rotates our grip. We step to that ball. We drive forward with our front shoulder. Notice the shoulders, they're pretty much level so that the racket head drops down, low to high at our target, and hold nice and high. Finish high. Very important. One more time. Sideways, racket back. Drive that front shoulder in, low to high. Remember that contact point is about a foot in front of the front foot. Very important. If you learn to start driving your shoulders forward into the ball, the swing itself will help control the ball to get the lift up over that you need. As you drop the back shoulder down, the ball starts flying. If the back shoulder's up, we're going to be driving it down into the ground. But keeping those shoulders about level, we're able to go low to high. The motion brush on up the back of the ball will give us the lift up over the net that we want. So learn to drive those front shoulders in, go through the proper form, and you'll find very good consistency on your one-handed backhand. Now I want to work on a little drill that I like to use in order to help check our backhand and see if we're hitting down a nice line through the ball. Too often I notice that people open their shoulders up too early on their swing, and they're wondering why they're losing control of the ball, or they're never hitting it clean. Every once in a while they hit clean, but it's never consistent. And what happens is as they hit, if you notice, and they're swinging and opening their shoulders up, from about right here to right there is the only distance that they can hit properly. So that's here and across, and they're ending up clear out here. If you work this, find a line anywhere and put this into effect, you'll see that from here, try to hit down that line all the way through the ball and right at your target. Nice low to high motion. If you'll notice, from about right here all the way through to there, you can hit the ball properly. Personally, I want to give myself the most room for error. I don't feel that I can hit the ball perfect every time. I don't have perfect timing. But if I give myself the most room for error and give it the most consistent swing every time, then I don't care if I'm hitting the greatest shot ever or if I'm hitting slightly late or slightly early, I'm still going to be able to control the ball and keep the ball in play and hit the ball where I want it to hit. So find yourself a line. Work on hitting that ball down the line and at your target every single time. Then over and over, go through the exact same stroke over and over, and you'll find that just by teaching your muscles to go through that proper swing, when you come up to hitting the ball properly in a match, it'll be exactly the same. It'll go through what it already knows. You won't go back to bad habits, but you'll have to do it enough times so that it goes into your muscle memory and becomes a habit, a good habit. We've got to boot out the bad and bring in the good. Let's teach these techniques, learn the techniques, and put them into effect so that we can hit that same proper motion over and over and over again so that we can hit the ball where we want every time. Now here's another great training method in order to help work that nice consistent line through the ball. Lay out 3 or 4 balls in a nice line along the baseline. Start in the right corner. Then as you turn, you're going to turn sideways, plant, step, hold that line through the ball and go through the proper motion. Then slide to the next one. Plant, step, drive at your target. Then slide to the next set. Plant, step, drive at your target. Get used to working the footwork into the swing and going through the proper motion. Hold that line through the ball. Go through that proper low to high motion and finish off your stroke. Go over it several times. It'll help, again, get that swing into the muscle memory. That's what we want to do. Learn the proper techniques, get it into our muscle memory so that every time we go out, that exact same motion is going to come out. I don't care whether it's a high ball, low ball, short ball, long ball. You're going to go up, go through the exact same motion. So let's go through step by step, put it into effect, and find that ultimate backhand. Now we've learned the basic techniques of the topspin backhand, one-handed backhand. Now I want to teach you the slice backhand. Slice is a very important shot in tennis. It can be used for several different reasons. When you're in a point and you're driving topspin backhand to topspin backhand, topspin, topspin, a lot of times a slice is a great change-up. It changes the pace of the point. It also is a different type of ball. The ball's actually going to hit and slide and stay lower. If your opponent doesn't like to bend down, it's a great shot. Whereas the topspin will hit and jump up, the slice will actually hit and slide. So it'll force them to get even lower down. A lot of people don't like to bend, so it's a great shot. It's also used tremendously in our approach shots. So it's a very important shot to be able to have and hit. The slice backhand is hit with the continental grip. Again, back to the racket that has the sides of the grip numbered. The continental grip is a V of the hand is on platform number 1, okay? What this will do will get us in the correct position so that when we're making contact, it's slightly opened rather than closed like it was before. The motion's going to look like this. We're going to go from our ready position now. When we take the racket back, we're actually going to take the racket up, okay? the racket face is slightly opened. If you notice, that continental grip gets us into the correct position. Again, we're going to want to hit down a line through the ball, but instead of going from low to high, now we go high to low to high. I like to tell people you want to cut out the melon on the ball. Okay, so it's high to low to high. Okay, very important. Too many people think that the slice is hit by hitting down on the ball. Okay, just dropping the racket down or hitting down the back of the ball. That's not the way that we hit the slice. What happens if we do that is when it hits, it will actually stop and bounce up and sit where it's at. So I love people when they hit a ball like that at me. I'd love to step in and really drive a ball past them because they set the ball up nice and high for me, and it's just in a great position for me to drive past them. But if we hit the slice properly, the high to low to high, what will actually happen when it hits, it stays down and it slides. So it's much more difficult for them to get down to it. But if they're having to hit a passing shot, if you're attacking the net, it's harder to get past them because you've got to get down and hit up. Whereas if the ball's sat up, it's much easier to hit it over the net. Okay, so again, very important. Go from get in the proper grip, which is the continental grip. Go from the ready position. As we get pulled out, we're able to go high to low to high. It's also a great shot if you happen to be on the run and you're a little bit in more of a defensive motion and you're having to pull, you're getting pulled wide and you barely can reach out. A lot of times you can just reach and catch it and pull it back in play. It's a great position to start getting a lob off of and get us back into a point from a defensive and change to an offensive posture. So it's very important to learn the slice motion. Everything else is going to be identical. The footwork's going to be the same. We get ourselves turned sideways, we're going to plant that back foot, drive our weight forward, hold that line through the ball like we do on the topspin stroke, but it's just going high to low to high. Don't open the racket face up too much. That's the other misconception on the slice. People think that the slice is hit with the racket face wide open. You can't make good contact with the ball with the racket face wide open, and the ball is just going to float on you. But by holding that racket back 10 to maybe 15 degrees, that will get the ball in the correct position so that we can still drive through the ball and have the ball hit and slide. So again, very important. Just get that racket head up, high to low to high. You'll be able to slice yourself into a change of pace, into getting back into points, and drive your opponents crazy because you're changing speeds and directions and bounces on them. Change it up. Hit the topspin sometimes, slice sometimes, just to make it a little bit more difficult for them to get in a rhythm. Okay, let's review the slice backhand from this angle. Again, you're in that ready position. You're wanting to change the point up, change the pace up a little bit. You get yourself turned sideways, the racket starts up high. We plant that back foot, we drive forward through that ball, high to low to high. High to low to high. Change the pace. Again, ready position. Get ourselves turned, high to low to high. Let me show you a couple of the balls. It'll be amazing what'll happen. As that ball hits, it'll actually slide. And your opponent's going to hate it because they're going to have to bend their knees and really get down to the ball. All right, now we've gone over the techniques for the one-handed backhand. Now the question is how do we hit the two-handed backhand? And should I personally hit the two-handed backhand? You really have to look at your particular body type and your playing style. Some people the two-handed backhand works better, other people the one-handed backhand works better. Try both of them and see what feels more natural. The important thing is to understand that it is natural for one or the two of the backhands. It's totally up to you what your body type is like. On the two-handed backhand, what I like about it, I actually play with the two-handed backhand. I teach and play at a lower level with the one-handed backhand because I grew up playing with the two-handed backhand. What I like about the two-handed backhand is I can crank a little better angles sometimes than the one-hander. And I can cheat a little bit with my wrist because I have the second hand on there. Gives me a little extra strength as well. So I personally play with the two-handed backhand, but I hit a slice one-handed, and if I'm out of position and can't get close enough to the two-hander, because you have to be closer to the ball to hit it, then I hit the one-handed backhand. So it's not a bad idea to have both, be able to hit both backhands. With the two-handed backhands, there's a couple different ways that we can do it with the grips. It's very important to understand that there isn't one exact perfect science to this. It really depends on you. I have some students, I'll turn the grip over and they'll actually go with an Eastern backhand on the right hand, and then they'll go with a semi-Western on their left hand. And what that does is cranks the racket head over slightly, and it helps get the racket head down. I personally can't hit that way. I actually use a semi-Western and a semi-Western. But what I'll do is go over the two different types of grips that are available. You adjust, tweak it a little bit as you're out playing, and see what works for you, because one of the two will probably work better for you. If you want to do it and change the grip, again, we have the 8 sides to the grip. What we want to do with our right hand, we want to turn it over to the Eastern backhand grip, or the V of the hand on platform number 2, going towards your backhand side. Okay, or your left side. So that's our first hand. Our right hand is turned over to the Eastern backhand grip. Then with our left hand, we want to grab on with a semi-Western forehand grip with the left hand, which is the V of the left hand on platform number 3 on the racket. Okay, what this does again is turns the racket head down. The motion's going to be identical. The technique's going to be identical. We still want to go from low to high. We still want the good brushing motion up the back of the ball, except on this one, rather than holding and finishing up here with the one hand, we will actually go through and we'll finish across the shoulders. Okay, so that's with an Eastern backhand Eastern backhand grip with our right hand, a semi-Western with the left hand. With the two-handed backhand, what it really is a left-handed forehand, or a left-hand dominated stroke. So if you release with this, it's just like hitting a left-handed forehand. That's all the motion is, all the stroke is. Okay, now the second grip that I wanted to talk about was using a semi-Western grip, which is on platform number 3 on the right-hand side on your forehand or your right hand, and then a semi-Western on your backhand. The thing that you have to do with this now is, as we take it back, we actually rotate our wrists to get that racket head down. Okay, so we actually rotate the wrists to close the racket face on this. This is how I actually learn, and the way that I personally hit it. But both ways work well. Again, check out your specific style and your body type and see what's more natural for you. Try them both and see which one feels better. Okay, so it's semi-Western again, the V of the hand on platform number 3 on the right side, and then semi-Western platform number 3 on your left hand as well. The thing again, we have to rotate the wrists. Okay, so again, Eastern forehand is on our right hand, semi-Western on our left hand is one of the grips. Semi-Western on our right hand, semi-Western on the backhand is another grip. And any grip in between, adjusted according to your particular body type or your feeling when you're out on the court. You're the one that knows your body best. And it just has to work with it, try to find the perfect grip for you. But that's the two main grips that I would recommend, is either the Eastern with the right hand, semi-Western with the left hand, or semi-Western with the right hand, semi-Western with the left hand. Those are the two grips I recommend. Try those grips, and I promise you'll find more consistency on your back end as long as we go through the good stroke, the good form when we're hitting it. Okay, now that you have the grips for the two-handed backhand, we're going to go step by step, just like we did on the one-handed backhand. We're going to build your two-handed backhand. First and foremost in any of the strokes is our ready position. It's going to be identical to the one-handed backhand, but it's very important that we are in better position even for the two-handed backhand, because you have to be closer to the ball. You don't have the reach that you have with the one-handed backhand with the two hands, because you have the second hand on there. We're going to start out again in the ready position, which is feet about shoulder length apart, knees are slightly bent, racket faces up and out in front of you. I'll look at it from this position as well so that you can see it, so I can start working towards you. But we're here in the ready position. First motion again is going to be turning sideways, racket back. Notice with the grip, again, it gets the racket face closed on the backswing. So as we're adjusting, the footwork is going to be identical to our one-handed backhand. We're going to push off from our right foot, start driving towards the ball. As we get closer to the ball, you shorten your steps up, plant that back foot, your left foot, to start driving your weight forward. At this point again, we're going to go through the low to high motion, the dip and lift on our sitting down and getting below that ball. We're going to dip, we're going to drive the racket head out in front. Contact point changes though. Instead of being a foot out in front, now its contact point is right off the front foot. So we actually move the contact point further back. That helps us generate all that power, just like our forehand. Again, I mentioned it was just like a left-handed forehand. Our forehand is hit off the front foot, just like our two-handed backhand, identical. So again, we're getting to that ball, racket head's out, we're dropping our weight down, driving that contact point right off the front foot, swinging from low to high, and following through right at our target. Our left elbow now, again, just like on the forehand side, is going to be pointing at our target. This will help direct the ball exactly where we want it to go. So again, back to the ready position. Ready position. We're here, bouncing slightly, so we're quick on our feet. Get ourselves turned sideways, drive into the ball, plant, step, drop the weight, low to high across the shoulders, and drive right at your target. The two-handed backhand can become such a weapon in your game. Some of the greatest players that are out there right now hit a two-handed backhand. Agassi, Hewitt, Safin, even some of the big guys hit two-handed backhands because they can generate so much power and they can rip real sharp angles with the two-handed backhand that you cannot hit with the one-handed backhand. So that's why I personally play with it. I do like the one-handed backhand though. I can become a little lazy if I'm a little tired. I can get a little further reach. I can do several other things with the one-handed backhand. But when I'm out playing and wanting to attack balls and really rip a shot, I like to use my two-handed backhand. So again, the stroke is going to be almost identical to our one-handed backhand. The footwork's the same. The low to high motion is going to be identical. The contact point moves back slightly from a foot in front of the front foot to just in front of the front foot. Then we're going to now follow through all the way across our shoulders, all the way across the shoulders, and point to our target with our left elbow. Those are the things that are slightly different from the one-handed to two-handed backhands. But try both of them. You'll find that one of the two will actually feel natural to you. The one-handed backhand to me is a little bit more mechanical. The two-handed backhand was totally natural because I grew up hitting it. So I've learned them both and I love both the backhands. They can become ultimate weapons in your game, but find the one that works best in your game. Work on that, learn the techniques, and slowly go through and see which one works better for your game and your body type. Again, you have to get a little closer to the ball with the two-handed backhand, so you have to be a little quicker or a little more savvy, understanding how to cut angles off on the court so you can be in position to hit it, so you can be in good position to attack rather than just push balls. But it's important to try them both, find out which one feels the best, and go from there. If you build your backhand step by step, Go through the techniques that I'm teaching you in this video. You're going to find great results when you're out in those matches. The other thing that's nice about a two-handed backhand is you can become a little more aggressive with it. You just let those arms fly. You don't want to just try to push balls because you will never gain control of the ball with that. The two-hand, you really have to go after the ball. Okay, now let's look at it from this angle, the two-handed backhand from this angle. You're going to start out in your ready position. First motion is turn sideways, racket back. Notice my racket face is closed on the backswing. Remember what that does for us. It makes it vertical at contact. Then I'm going to drive off my back foot, step forward, keep my weight down, and brush up the back of the ball, contacting the ball out in front, following through from low to high, and pointing at my target with my left elbow. Just like a left-handed forehand, it's going to be out in front and across. The two-handed backhand is a left-hand dominated stroke. So again, from the ready position, turn sideways, racket back, racket face is closed, drop the weight down, from low to high, that nice brushing motion up the back of the ball, and drive through across your shoulders. Drive right at your target. Very important that on a two-handed backhand, we hit the ball. Do not push the ball. Actually go after it. I like to tell my students, let your arms go. Let them fly. Don't just try to guide and push that ball where you want it to go. Hit it where you want it to hit. So you drive those arms, let them fly right at your target, nice and relaxed. You'll find such a good result if we just stay relaxed as we hit. Okay, we're going to look at it one more time. Again, from the ready position, turn sideways, racket back. Let that racket back close. That racket face is closed. So important. Drive out in front. Drop your weight down. Brush up the back of the ball. Let those arms fly and watch the follow through all the way across our shoulders. We don't cut it off and stop. We let those arms fly. Just let them go, and you'll find such great results if you just let it hit where it's supposed to go rather than try to guide it where it's supposed to go. So important, just let those arms go. Again, from that ready position, sideways racket back, step to the ball, drive those arms, just let them fly all the way across and point with our left elbow right at our target. You're going to find great results if you let this happen. Use the two-handed backhand. Try the one-handed backhand, but this two-handed backhand is a great stroke to have. Get out, practice it, and you'll find great results. I promise you, with the techniques I've given you, you'll find the results that you're looking for. Another way to work your backhand is work on my pro tennis trainer. I developed this so that you can work on your stroke without having to worry about the bounce. Too many people don't quite understand why the topspin is generated or the slice, whatever you're working on at that particular time. What this does is it takes away the bounce, so we actually understand it's by getting the racket head below the ball and brushing up the back of the ball that we generate the topspin. It gives you an initial response right when you hit it also. If it's into the net, you know you didn't get the racket down below the ball enough. If it's going long, you know you opened up on the backswing, so you made contact with an open face. So you're able to actually groom your stroke, go through that motion over and over and over again, get it into your muscle memory, and be able to hit the ball properly. What I'm going to show you is how it works. Again, we go through the proper form. We turn the racket face down, that palm is down, which rotates the grip to an Eastern backhand grip. We step to the ball from low to high, up the back of the ball, and follow through at our target. Very important that we understand. Take a look at what happened to the ball. If it went just where you wanted to, that was the proper stroke. If it went into the net, okay, I need to get down a little bit more. Let that racket head drop a little bit more to give the lift up over the net. Or if it went long, we know we need to close that face. One more time, come at it, low to high, right at your target. Again, it's great to groom your stroke over and over, hitting properly so that when you get into the match situation and introduce the bounce, nothing changes, but you now understand what causes that topspin to actually work. Again, low to high, right at your target. It works really, really well. I've been able to see this develop people's swings from a very basic beginner and get them to finally understand in their mind what causes topspin to happen. It's not by hitting over the top of the ball. It's actually caused by hitting up the back of the ball. Once you see with a ball that's not moving, you understand how to put that topspin on the ball, then you're able to use it in match situations as well. Now we can actually work our footwork as well. We start coming into the ball, we plant, step, drive, and contact. Follow through the motion. I'll do it one more time. Again, go from a position where you actually have to come up to the ball. We start coming sideways. We plant the back foot, step, low to high, right at our target. It's a great way to groom your stroke, to get that consistent swing over and over to where you can work on it so that in the match situation you can put it into effect. Now let's move on to the two-handed backhand. Same exact swing. You can also work your slice backhand. We're going to start out in the stationary position. The motion itself is going to be identical. We change continental grip via the hand, platform number 1. Now the motion is high, down the back of the ball, and then follow back through high. High to low to high, or cutting out the melon. Watch the shot. High to low to high. The motion's going to be identical. Again, we finally can understand what causes the slice to work without having to worry about the bounce. So we can get it into the muscle memory and get that shot down so we actually go through the proper motion over and over again. Get it into the muscle memory. Then we can move on and we can do to where we actually have to move and work our footwork. Get in the position, come away from the ball, get up to it, high to low to high. It's a very easy shot to hit once you understand it and once you get it into your muscle memory. I love this trainer. That's the whole reason I developed it, because I wanted people to finally understand what causes the topspin, what causes the slice, what causes a flat ball. How do I change in order to generate higher over the net, lower over the net, or a topspin lob? Here we go. One more time. Slice. Come into it. High to low to high. Now let's move on to the two-handed backhand. The only things that are going to change from a two-handed backhand is now our contact point is right in front of the front foot rather than a foot out in front. We're still going to go through the same motion. We can either go semi-western forehand grip, semi-western on the left hand as well, and turn our wrists low to high coming across, or we can change our right hand over to either a continental or an eastern backhand grip. Same thing, which gets the racket face closed. It's up to you. Play with them. But we can go from the stationary position, low, up the back of the ball, drive the shoulders all the way through across, point at our target with our left hand. Below that ball, up the back, point at our target. Let's do it one more time. Just practice, practice, and practice. Get it into the muscle memory. Once it's there, it's easy to hit over and over again. One more time, and then we'll work on our footwork, moving to the ball. So we're here, low, up the back of the ball, follow through at our target. All right, now we're going to work movement to the ball. As you're coming across the baseline or over to the ball, we're going to plant that back foot, step, drive up the back of the ball, and at our target. So here we go. We're going to start moving at the ball, plant, step, up the back of the ball, right at our target. One more time. Then you can finally start understanding the footwork moving to the ball and what causes us to be in the correct position. How close do I want to be to the ball in order to get my most power and my most consistency? Once you find that, it's very, very easy to hit it over and over again. Again, it's into your muscle memory and you're holding proper form. Below the ball, up the back, follow through at our target. This is a great way to practice your swing. The Pro Tennis Trainer will help you develop the proper swing so you can translate that onto the movement around the court and working when the ball is high, low, wherever it might be, because you understand. Get the racket head below the ball, brush up the back to give the lift up over. Slice high to low to high. It gives you that motion that you need to. You can work on it here without the bounce. Start introducing the bounce and you're going to find your strokes will be so much more developed than they ever were before. As with all of my tennis videos, we're going to teach you how to work on the wall. The wall is a great training method because you don't have to have the pressure of an opponent. Plus you can do it anywhere. Any place you have a nice sheer wall you can go and hit. When you get out to hit on the wall, it's very important first to work on technique. Think about what you're doing. Don't just come out there and just think that you're going to blast balls. I watch people always try to come out here and it looks like they're trying to knock the ball down. And I notice they're not even using good technique. When you work on the wall, it's important to use good technique. Think about what you're doing. Think about rhythm. Work on your feet because the ball comes back a little quicker than it does if you're working with opponents. So you have an opportunity to work on your footwork. Get your body in position to hit the ball correctly. First things first is we have to think about our grip. On a one-handed backhand, we're going to use either Eastern backhand grip or the semi-Western backhand grip, which is via the hand on platform number 2 or number 3 on our grip. It's important to get that set first. Then in the form, we're going to start with that racket back and the racket closed, okay? So then as we're hitting, we can go nice low, contact out in front, and follow through high. We're going to be starting at mid-court. Like on this particular wall, I have the net height, and I have a half court. Kind of gives me an idea of the court surface. As when we warm up in any sport, a lot of times, or any time we're playing singles or doubles, a lot of times it's good to start about mid-court. Get your body warmed up so you don't pull muscles. Stretch a little bit. Do what you need to get ready and hit on the wall. Make it an enjoyable experience. So go through, remember form. Go through the form a few times so it can get back into that muscle memory so we know exactly what we're trying to do. So we feel it again. So then when we get ready to hit, we know what we want to do. Then I always start mid-court again because I want to start going through that motion, and I don't want to try to hit the ball too hard, but I want to keep the ball under control. Normally I want to keep it above the net, anywhere from 2, 3, 4 feet. Pick a target on the wall and try to go for that target each time. So when I start, I'll show you. I'm just going to go nice and easy to begin with. Just trying to hold good form. Again, I'm not trying to blast, but I'm just trying to hold good form. Nice low to high motion, catch that ball out in front. If the balls are going below that net, I make the adjustments just like I would out on a court. I want to get below the ball a little bit more. If the balls are going way high, I want to make sure that my racket face is closed a little bit more so that I can bring the ball down. But I want to work the technique just like I would anywhere else. I'm not trying to blast the ball, not trying to knock the wall down. I'm just trying to work good form so that when I step out on that court, I can go right into the correct form and I can use the backhand the way I need to. So again, nice and easy, pick your target. Don't try to kill the ball, but go through proper form. Nice low to high motion. Watch that ball each time. Contact that ball out in front. But every time going through that proper motion, work on sliding to the ball. But notice it's all on my backhand side. The wall is a great place to work on control. Learn to control the tennis ball. This is a great place to work on that. As I get feeling good here, I'll start to move back a little bit further on the court so that I can feel the full court and I can start hitting the ball a little bit harder. So I'll start working my way back and then I can go through that motion and really start working my way back and go through the full motion. Again, if I don't feel that I have control of the ball, I'll stop it and I'll start it again so that I can start keeping it under control. I don't want to get into bad habits. I don't want to flick my wrist and do all the bad things that you don't want to do. I want to go through proper motion. Remember, get it into that muscle memory so that I can do it properly when I get out and get ready to play. And now we're going to go over the two-handed backhand. It's going to be identical to the one-handed backhand as far as your preparation, the little bit of stretching before. I want to take that racket back low with the racket face closed. I want to step, I want to dip the knees, make that contact. Now the contact point has changed. Now it's right in front of my front foot rather than a foot out in front. So my contact point is now a little bit different. I'm going to brush up the back of the ball and I'm going to drive through across my shoulders just like I did on the one-handed backhand. Okay, so go through that motion a few times, get it into the muscle memory so we remember exactly what we're trying to do with this. Then I'm going to do exactly what I did as well. Control the ball. Just get through that motion, control the ball. Drive and control. Not trying to kill it, but just trying to control it. All right, lose control, grab it again, go through. The two-handed backhand is one that actually is a little harder to, for me at least, to keep controlled when I'm hitting against the wall. I feel a little bit better driving the ball out with the two hands than I do trying to just keep the ball hitting a little softer because I hit so much topspin with it. But go through that motion and go through the nice control. Work on your footwork, work on good contact point, and then just keep the ball controlled. Now we've worked on the one-handed backhand. Now let's move to the two-handed backhand. The wall with the two-handed backhand is going to be identical. You're going to go through, you're going to get a little stretch before you start, then you're going to go through from the beginning. Check your form. With the two-handed backhand, we check the correct grips first, which is going to be either the semi-western forehand grip or maybe an eastern forehand grip and a semi-western on your left hand. Then when you're hitting, you're able to turn your wrists over. Or you can change that to an eastern backhand grip on the right hand and a semi-western on the left hand. Again, check those out, try them. Against the wall, a great place for you to try them as well. Then go through, and as we go through form, we're going to take the racket back. Make sure that racket face is closed, okay? We're going to work on getting our weight dropped each time. Let the weight drop down. Then make that contact. Remember, the contact point changes on the two-handed backhand. Instead of a foot out in front on the one hand, it's actually right in front of the front foot on the two-hand. So we check that, and then we work on the full follow-through. The ball comes back a little bit quick off the wall, so sometimes you don't have time to get all the way through and then all the way back in position. Especially with a two-hander, a lot of times I don't like to start right up at the line. I like to move it back about 3/4 court. But the same techniques apply. We want to check the wall, find a place on the wall, shoot for a target, see if we can get it to that place. Work above the line. That gives us the net height. And then we have a nice target that we're aiming for, normally anywhere from about 2 to 4 feet up the back of the wall. Then we can do the same things. We can adjust if we're hitting it below the line. We adjust by making sure we get down, the racket head gets below the ball, and we did our knees bend a little bit more to give the lift up over. If the ball is hitting way up on top of the wall, we need to adjust it because we're making contact too open, so the ball is going too high. So those are the things we can adjust as well. Use it for what it's for. It's good on working your rhythm, it's good on working footwork and working control. We're not trying to blast the wall down. We're trying to keep it controlled against the wall. So with the two-hand, again, get the correct grips. Just work in control. Keep that ball under control. You don't have to kill it. Just work on nice little brushing motion up the back of the ball and through the proper motion. Get there. Just keep it controlled. If you lose control, grab it, start it again. Don't get into bad habits when you're hitting on the wall. I see a lot of people do it. Nice and controlled. We're not trying to kill it. Then as you feel comfortable in this position, you're nice and warm, start moving back so you can start hitting the ball a little bit harder. Again, using correct form. Just keep that ball under control. That's all we want. We want to be able to keep the motion, get the motion into our muscle memory so that when we move out onto the regular court, we don't have to do anything different. We're warmed up, we've got a little bit of a sweat going, our muscles remember how to hit properly, and we're ready for our match. Great way to get yourself warmed up before a match. Now the last one we want to work on the wall is the slice backhand. The slice backhand, again, we want to go through using the continental grip, which is the V of the hand on platform number 1 on the grip. Again, on the wall, make sure that you're going through proper form, not trying to blast the wall down, but each time work on proper form. The slice is a great one to work on good feel as well. You don't have to hit the ball real hard. Work on a little bit softer and then start going with a little more pace. Again, we want to start about halfway up, and then we want to just go through our proper motion. Remember, the slice is contacted from high to low to high, finishing your stroke off. But go through that proper stroke every time. I always, as a kid, used to go through and use my hand as the racket and go through that motion so I'd feel that proper motion, again, to get it into the muscle memory. But start out from right out in front, go through a nice, easy, controlled motion. Again, don't try to blast, work on rhythm, work on control, but just work on keeping that ball under control. The slice is an easy one to keep it really well under control because you're not trying to blast. You can go through a few different shots and still get the shots that you want to work the proper motion. Work on good footwork, getting your body in position, and keeping that ball controlled, but high to low to high. That will help keep the ball so it sits down for you as you're hitting. Once it hits, it'll actually sit rather than bounce up. Slice is a great backhand to work on. Then as we go further, we want to start moving our way back so that we can start hitting the ball just a little bit harder. High to low to high. Go through, drive that ball exactly where you want it to go. If you lose control, don't worry about it. Drop the ball back in position again. Again, don't try to blast the wall down. We want to keep that ball, say, a good 2 to 3 feet over the net with the slice. We don't want to go a lot higher, otherwise the balls are going to be going really long. The ball needs to be 2 to 3 feet over that net. Keep the ball under control. Go through the proper motion. Use the backboard for rhythm, timing, and getting in that proper motion so that every time you go through, you can step out onto the real court and feel confident and comfortable that that slice will work for you, or any of your other strokes. Now we're going to work on the ball machine. The ball machine is one of the most misunderstood training aids out there. It's a great way to work on your rhythm, work on your form, but too many people don't quite understand what it's for. What the ball machine is for is so that we can work patterns. If I'm having trouble with my cross-court backhand, I can work specifically on the cross-court backhand. Try to groove that good form so every time I go through that motion, I get it into my muscle memory. You know where the ball is going to hit because you set it prior to playing. So it's not like you don't have a clue on where the ball is going to be. But what you're trying to do is get your feet in proper position so that you know where you're trying to adjust in your matches. And you know where your power zone is, the knees to the chest. You want to make it in that power zone each time. You know that if you're having trouble and getting on top of the ball, and if the balls are going out, you can make the adjustments in a practice mode, a place where you can be relaxed and go for your shots. Too many people turn the ball machine way up and have the balls just blasting out, and they just come flying, and then I watch the balls hitting their back fence, and you're wondering, what are they doing? They're not doing what it's made for, working on that rhythm, working on form, working on patterns, maybe going cross-court, 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 down the line, whatever, or working on your outside, getting yourself pulled wide and trying to hit the shots down the line to gain that shot. So when you need it in your matches, you can use it. So get out, use the ball machine. It's a great teaching aid. It's a great training aid. It gets you ready for your matches. Get out, work on the form, adjust the grips as you're going, find what's best for you, but get out there and work on it. Get out maybe once or twice a week, and it will definitely help your game. So right now we're working on the cross-court backhand. Get nice and early, work on your movement. Racket goes down, dip, and lift. Contact point on the cross-court is a little bit earlier than on the down-the-line shot. Again, low to high, drive at our target. Low, to high. Drive at our target. Notice each time I get back into good position, I'm up on my toes, I slide over, go through the correct motion. Low to high. Low to high. Watch that ball hit the strings. Slap in. Nice low to high motion. And as you're hitting, adjust. Hit a couple into the net. I need to go under the ball more. Dip and lift. That's what we're doing. We're getting our motion so it's consistent, and every time we go through the correct motion. Dip and lift. Now we're going to move on to the two-handed cross-court backhand, still working on the ball machine. Again, work on your form, work on the grips, make sure you have the correct grips, and adjust slightly depending on where the ball's going so that you feel the most comfortable. Get into proper grips, get your racket back early, go low to high. Now again, we change to right in front of our front foot. That's where the contact point is now rather than out in front on the one hand. So down, out in front, brushing up the back of the ball and following through all the way across your shoulders. With the two-hand, we want to let the arms relax. Just go for your shot. And working on the ball machine is a great time to just relax. Feel it, get into that good groove, and go for the stroke that we want. The cross-court backhand is, again, used more than any other shot because a lot of people go to the backhand side because their forehand is stronger. Let's make your backhand just as strong so people will fear this side as well. Working on the ball machine is great for that because we can get that motion over and over and over again, pretty much knowing exactly where the ball's coming, so we don't have to worry about that, but we can work on getting our feet in the proper position. And it's so much more important on the two-hander because you don't have as long of a reach as you do with the one-handed backhand. So it's very important to get out on the ball machine to work your two-handed backhand. Make it a great strength in your game. The nice thing again about two-hand as well is we can hit sharper angles than we can with the one-handed backhand. This is a great time to practice hitting the long cross courts and then the shorter cross courts. Work on them and get that feel to where you feel comfortable so you can use it in your match situations as well. So now let's hit some cross court two-handed backhands. Make those adjustments as you're working. The balls are going long. Get that racket closed on that backswing. Going into the net. Make the adjustments and get those knees down and let that racket head dip. But get into that nice rhythm, nice groove, and into the rhythm that we want to hit with. Work on form. Same stroke. Over and over and over again. Short angle, deep angle. Short, really short. Deep back, deep. The last stroke we want to work on the ball machine is the slice backhand. Slice backhand is a great shot because it's able to change pace. If people are just driving you off the court, you need to change the pace a little bit. See if it throws them off. Try to take them out of their rhythm. The other thing, if you're getting pulled off the court, the slice backhand is a great way to get you back in position. Gives you a chance to get the ball back. Ball's going back over a little bit slower, so it gives you a chance to get back into the court and get back into the point, back in position. It's a great shot to have. Really, when you're going out again, work on form. Remember the grip is going to be a continental grip, which is the V of the hand on platform number 1. Then the motion itself is going to be from high, down the back of the ball, follow through, high. So it's high to low to high, or cutting out a melon. Very important. When you're working on the ball machine, work on getting the motion down correctly. Get the feel and get your feet in proper position so that we're in the great position to hit it. So again, high to low to high. Trust it and go for it. Get out there and hit on the ball machine. First, we're going to work on cross-court slice backhands, and then we'll work down the line slice backhands. So now working on that cross-court, getting good form. Get that racket back early, drive high to low to high. Get over to that ball
and trust it. Too many people cut their slice off. They don't follow through. When you follow through, it sits down and it becomes that weapon. It's not just a shot that to change pace. It actually becomes a great weapon to change pace. High to low to high. As you're hitting, adjust. If the balls are going long, it's caused typically because you're hitting too late. You're not trusting it, moving your weight forward. You're backing out of your stroke. When you trust it, everything moves forward, just like our other ground strokes. We attack the ball forward. Now we're aiming about 2 feet over that net. Great shot to get yourself out of harm's way. If you're out of position, pull it out. You get a little extra time, gives you plenty of time to get back in position. But now everything's going to be the same, except let's go down the line with our backhands. Hold your shoulders, drive that line. Now I'm thinking about it. Same motion. It's my trainer. Remember, all that changes is we hit a little bit later than we do on our cross court. Gal, come on. So remember, all that changes is we're going to be making contact just a little later than on our cross court. It's further behind so we can drive that line. A little bit earlier for cross court. A little later, boom, for down the line. Right. Remember, under the ball and lift. Knees go down, racket head drops and lift. That'll generate the spin to bring the ball down in the court for us. Below and lift, that's late. Foot in front of the front foot, drive it. Into the net, below and lift, see? Simple. Make the simple adjustments. Now let's work our two-handed backhand and our slice down the line. The two-hander's the same. Turn yourself, drive those arms. Drive those arms. Get out there, drive those arms. Go for the winner. Pull them wide. Go for the winner. Work on that pattern. Got to be able to redirect. If you can redirect, you are so far ahead of the game. And if you practice it, then it works in matches. If you don't practice, you can't expect to hit it in matches. And the nice thing about this, you get a little tired, it forces you to stay in good form. This good form is actually less work than being lazy and trying to do it wrong. Get yourself turned sideways, high to low to high. Finish the stroke. Finish. Finish.
All right, you did great. I've given you all the form and the technique necessary to hit your one-handed backhand topspin, your two-handed backhand topspin, or your slice backhand. Go out and practice. Remember, the one-handed backhand and the two-handed backhand are up to your personal preference. Try them both, see which one best fits your game. But get out and work the drills that I've given you. This will help you improve. It'll help you improve your power, your accuracy, your angles, your consistency. It'll give you everything you need so that your backhand is no longer your weak side. It'll actually become a strength, just like your forehand side, and your opponents will start to fear both sides. So go out, work on these things, and I guarantee you will improve your game and win a lot more points. And I'll see you on the next tapes. Serve all of your volleys, your half volleys. If we can learn this grip, it will help us tremendously. Years ago, this used to be the grip that they hit all the strokes with, but now we've changed and go with the continental, mainly on your serve, again, your volleys, your half volleys. Anything around the net, your net game will go to a continental grip. Your slice also is from the continental grip. Then we move over to an Eastern forehand grip, which is the V of the hand. I set up the cones 4 in each one of the boxes. I set it up with 1 up the tee. You can either hit a flat serve up the tee or a slice up the tee, which will actually start curving toward the body. Set 1 in the middle, which is a real body shot. You can hit that also with a flat serve or a slice or a kick serve as well. You've got the one on the left side or the far right side, which is going to the opponent's forehand. That's going to be hit again with a kick, slice, or flat serve. And then a shorter